So if you're fairly new to drumming, you're eventually going to come across a bunch of super nerdy drum terms that you're going to hear people throw across back and forth in conversations. You're going to wonder what they are. So you might be reading about them online. You might hear it here on YouTube, or there might be a friend of the family who played for the Thundercats boogie band back in the 60s, and he's throwing terms at you, taking advantage of your inexperience to make them sound smarter. Well, there's really only just over a handful of these popular nerdy drum terms, and that's what this video is about. Just going to tell you what they are, briefly tell you what they mean, demonstrate them so you understand them. So this is your glossary of nerdy drum terms. Grab a drink, come on back. So yeah, there's really just a handful of these terms that you're probably going to hear on a regular basis while you're learning. So it's a good idea to just know briefly, what they mean. None of them really are a big deal. They're not as fancy as they sound, which I will demonstrate in a second. But yeah, I'm just going to give you just a brief definition, a little bit of a demonstration so you know what it looks like as well. So you know what they mean, and then you might even end up being interested in learning more about them. So if you got a pen and a pad with you, let's go. So the first term that you might hear being thrown around a lot in conversations is metric modulation. What the heck is metric modulation? Basically, it's just a fancy way of saying change the tempo without actually changing the BPM. Metric modulation is more about the note value than it is the actual set BPM. So it's a way to sort of imply a change in tempo depending on how you play. So I know that sounds a little complicated, but it's really not. As a matter of fact, a lot of you may have done it already without even knowing what it was called. If you've ever gone from regular time to halftime, technically that's metric modulation. So when you go from regular time to cut time, you're literally cutting the tempo in half. Like that's what the feel is like when you do it. And that's really what it is. Now you can get super crazy and creative with this type of idea, especially when you're playing in 6/8. But that's all it is. So here's a little demonstration of what metric modulation is. Now, another term that you're going to hear thrown around a lot is linear drumming. What is linear drumming? It's kind of what it sounds like, actually. It's just a bunch of notes played in a straight line, but the actual definition of it is that it's literally just one note or one source, one drum, whatever, played per beat. So there's no simultaneous hits going on. It's just one note at a time, played in either 16ths, 30 seconds, whatever. Now there's some creative ways to use linear drumming, and there's others that have, gotten a little on the annoying side, but it's a good way to, play fills, play phrases, stuff like that. Drummers if you want to see really creative ways of using it, drummers like Gary Chafee, Vinny Colaiuta, David Garibaldi's got some really cool stuff. Rick Latham, he's another one. Cats like this really tap into the creative aspect of just coming up with some really cool grooves and fills and stuff like that. But as a brief demonstration of what this is, check this out. Another term you might hear a lot is open-handed playing. What exactly is open-handed playing? There's really nothing to it. Cross-handed, open-handed. So all it really is you're not crossing your hands. Generally, when right-handed drummers play the drums, boom, right hand is on the hats, left hand plays the snare. Open-handed playing is reverse, so it opens this whole area up. So, you know, Carter Beauford, Simon Phillips, Billy Cobham, like there's a lot of drummers out there, John Blackwell, R.I.P. John Blackwell. There's a lot of drummers out there that have adapted to this type of playing. It's a really cool way for left-handed drummers to adapt to right-handed kits. But, you know, it also presents some cool options as far as what you can play. So it might be something that you want to explore at some point, because it's kind of cool because, like I said, it kind of frees up this area, and now your right hand has access to all of this side of the kit. And you could also get some really cool different types of accented grooves and stuff like that, because your hands are now open. So check out what that looks like. One of the more popular drum nerd terms that you're going to hear a million times in your lifetime is polyrhythm. What exactly is a polyrhythm? Well, just think of the prefix poly, means many or more than one, and then rhythm, put them together, that's really all it is. So polyrhythm is two or more different overlapping rhythms happening at the same time. So the two polyrhythmic champions on the planet, Virgil Donati and Thomas Lang, they literally have a separate brain in each limb. But yeah, I mean, whenever you see, you know, people talk about rhythms that are like 3/2 or, you know, 6/4, whatever, these are polyrhythms. So you might have one thing happening on the kick drum, another rhythm happening on the ride, something else happening on the hats, that kind of thing. But there's a ton of endless possibilities that you can do with polyrhythms. You can even mix and match time signatures if you want. So you can play, you know, 7/8 pattern on the ride, 5/8 on the kick, you know, 3/4 on the hats, like whatever you want to do, including whatever this is. Now, another term that you're going to hear and you're definitely going to want to explore at some point is called beat displacement. Now, beat displacement, again, is one of those terms that almost kind of defines itself in the title. But basically all it is, you're taking a group of notes, right? Think about cut and paste. You're taking a phrase or whatever, picking it up, moving it, and placing it somewhere else in the bar. So it's literally taking an entire group of notes and shifting it, you know, either ahead or behind the one by 8th note, 16th note, you know, full quarter note, whatever. Displacing beats is fun. Like there's a lot of things that, that you can do creatively and still tastefully with this idea, believe it or not. And it's something that I do all the time. But yeah, that's all it is. You're taking an entire group of notes and you're picking it up and displacing it, plopping it down somewhere else. Now, another term that you might hear come up in the conversation, it's not as popular as some of the other ones, but it's permutation. Permutation really is just a super nerdy way of saying beat displacement. It's literally the same thing. So now that you know what that is already, let's move on. Ostinato. If you haven't already heard that term a bunch of times, you will. And all that is, it's just a repetitive pattern. That's it. So when somebody plays an ostinato on the drums, it's usually done with a kick, and it's just a repetitive phrase or a repetitive pattern that a lot of times are just soloed over. So it could be something just played on the kick, or combination of kick and hats. But like I said, it's just a think of a live sequence. That's all it is. Just a repetitive phrase that's played over and over again. I'm hoping it's also somebody's first name in the world, because that would be a cool first name. There's got to be an Ostinato Jackson somewhere. And then this last term, you're going to hear a whole bunch of times because, quite frankly, it's one of the most important aspects of popular music, and that's syncopation. Syncopation is the hot sauce that makes music interesting. Now, basically what syncopation means, or a syncopated rhythm or whatever, it's kind of the idea of making the weak notes strong and the stronger notes weaker. So it's a way of taking your accents and moving them somewhere that's not a typical part in the bar. So in other words, we have, generally in music, we have strong notes and weak notes. So there's downbeats and there's offbeats, right? Syncopation, a lot of times what that'll do is it'll start to move the accents over to some of these offbeats, and it just really makes things a lot more interesting. One of the simplest and best examples of this is Stewart Copeland, my favorite drummer. If you're a Police fan, you've heard syncopated beats through that music your entire life. But that's the idea. It's taking the accents and moving them away. I think of it as sort of moving the accents away from the pulse. So there you go, your basic glossary of drum nerd terms that you're going to hear a whole bunch of times while you're playing the drums. Hopefully it helps out. I mean, you at least now have a brief description of what these terms mean. If you want to check these out online and learn more about them, there's a ton of information on each one. But hopefully, this served as a good introduction to what these are. So that's it for me, man. I'm gonna let y'all go. But before I do that, right here, caution, heavy grooves. I don't know if you have this t-shirt yet or not. If you don't, I don't know what you're waiting on. There's a link in the description box. This is a Beatdown exclusive. This is part of my merch. Head over to the merch shop, grab you one of these. Hoodies are available as well. As a matter of fact, if you don't have this t-shirt already, I'm gonna help you out. I'm feeling generous today. I'm gonna have a 1-week sale. Just use the discount code Groove21. Type in Groove21 at checkout. Get you 20% off this shirt and anything else you want in the shop. Also, if you are not already a DRUMEO Edge member, guess what? We're friends. We hooked up. So DRUMEO is offering fans of this channel a 30-day free trial membership. Link will be in the description box. If you want to go over there, check that out. Get the keys to the whole kingdom for 30 days. You can go in there, check out all the lessons. The instructors are crazy, including me. I got a whole bunch of lessons in there myself if you want to check that out. So no pressure, just throwing it out there. New viewers, new subscribers, welcome to the channel. This is the kind of stuff that you get here. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you know when the next video is coming out. Right there, subscribe button. I don't know what you're waiting on there either. Hit that before you bounce. Drop a comment below if you got one. Share this video if you dig it. Like, subscribe. See you next video.